Okay, thank you. All right, Jan, if you want to get started.
Right, yeah.
All right.
I'm going to have to use a little bit of a cheat sheet because I'm not a speaker, but Bună dimineața, I guess. As mentioned, I'm Jan Cress Dondi. I'm the daughter of an American aviator, Lieutenant Robert William Cress. He was a navigator of a B-24 Liberator, the Screamin Demon, and former POW. I'm here together with my sister Polly, our husbands Beta and Shep. My father passed away about 17 years ago, and his memories of Romania have enthralled me of recent. His only tangible souvenir from this experience, some 70 years ago, is this Romanian pilot's wings for which he traded his silver Navigator wings for. I grew up seeing my mother wear this pin as a brooch, and now I wear his souvenir. I suppose I yearn for the connection with my father and the need to recognize his time in Romania. My quest to learn about Ploesti is twofold. In addition to my father's experience, my mother's brother, Captain John B. White, who was navigator of a B-24 Liberator, perished in the original August 1st, 1943 mission, low-level mission over Ploesti. In the last 2 years, I've learned much about Romania and have been able to piece together my father's service experience. Ploesti was a ferocious and feared target by the Allied forces. As you all well know, the Axis heavily defended its oil refineries with anti-aircraft flak cannons, barrage balloons, and its toughest ace pilots flying Me-109 fighters. My father was not immune to the anxiety instilled by a mission over Ploesti, as he was keenly aware that my Uncle John B. presumed, or reportedly missing in action, but presumed perished over this dreaded target. On the day before my father's final mission, his crew was grounded due to mechanical issues, but he was asked to fly as lead navigator for an entire wing piloted by Colonel William Keyes, the group commanding officer. Their assignment took them over Wiel, Austria, which was later deemed a perfect mission for which Colonel Keyes received the Distinguished Flying Cross. After returning from that assignment fatigued and having completed a month of missions with and without the crew of the Screamin Demon, my father went to the infirmary to request time off. Colonel Keyes was also in the infirmary and commended my father for a mission well done and other accolades about the day. Of course, when asked, my father could not admit to being exhausted, but simply said he was in the infirmary to get something to help him sleep. Colonel Keyes promised to arrange some rest and relaxation, but only after the next day's mission, which, without identifying the target, impressed the critical nature of their efforts. Colonel Keyes stressed the need for my father to navigate this one very important target, and he would receive papers for time off. That night, the medic initiated the paperwork and for R&R to the Isle of Capri to follow the next day's mission. The next morning, on May 31st, the aviators were awakened at 3 a.m. for their usual early morning briefing. Sleepy-eyed, my father, together with another 100 or so pilots, navigators, and bombardiers, entered the briefing room, but their sleep minds and bodies suddenly became very much awake when they learned that the target would be Ploesti. You can only imagine the lump in my father's throat, knowing the tough mission ahead, but with a strong resolve of the job that he promised to fulfill. After all, the Isle of Capri was just a day away. By the time they were readying the plane, they learned that the crew radio operator, Lyle Shuttleworth, was ill, so James Bell was substituted in. It's been said that any change prior to a mission was bad luck. All members of the crew went to their respective takeoff positions, and with a wave of the hand to the ground crew, which meant, "We'll see you in a few hours, fellas," they taxied to takeoff. At half-minute intervals, the big ships roared down the pierced steel plank runway, then climbed to joint formation. Their course took them from the east coast of Italy, over the Adriatic, across the Balkans, and to the Danube River. As they approached Ploesti, they saw all things that signify a tough target: friendly and enemy fighters dogfighting, and up ahead was flak that covered the sky over a wide area around the oil refineries. They knew that in a matter of minutes they would be right in the middle of those black mushrooms. The crew of the Screamin Demon was flying at 24,000 feet when they dropped her bombs on the Vega Concordia refinery at 10:30 a.m. The crew could feel the surge of the plane following the release of her heavy load. Just before making the turn to return to base, big white puffs appeared, and wham, wham, wham. They were hit 3 times on the wings from the bottom upward. One of the hits was on the left wing between engines number 1 and 2, knocking out and setting fire to the number 1 engine. Co-pilot Bill Martin turned on the automatic fire extinguisher to the number 1 engine. Another hit came into the bomb bays right at the end of the flight deck. This hit severed some oxygen and fuel lines, starting a very hot fire, and in an instant, the rear part of the flight deck and the bomb bay was a mass of flames. My father picked up the fire extinguisher to battle the inferno on the flight deck. In an instant, engineer Harry Harris came down from the top turret, turned off the fuel to the engines, and took the extinguisher from my father to quiet down the fire on the bomb bay, facilitating a bailout. At the same time, the tail and waist gunners were shooting their guns on incoming attacking German fighters who were trying to finish off this wounded plane. Pilot Jack Crumbless was hand-working the trim controls just long enough to order the crew to bail out. My father gave Harry Harris a parachute, later realizing he gave Harry his parachute. Crew members Harris, Townsend, Martin, and Parson bailed through the bomb bay, while Bell, Bayer, Tatum, and Chin were bailing out the camera hatch in the waist. As luck would have it, there was a spare chute that my father grabbed, hooked into it, and with the bomb bay doors open and the earth below, my father jumped. Jack remained at the controls until 9 of the crew safely bailed from the plane, and as they later learned, their pilot, Jack, had also escaped their falling Liberator. In reality, this chaos occurred in a matter of minutes, from the flak strike to fighting the fires on board to bailing out to an unknown Romania below. Imagine, these guys were in their early 20s, so young to deal with the demands that fate delivered. Falling through the air at about 8,000 feet, my father pulled the ripcord after saying a short prayer. It was a beautiful sight to see the silk shoot up above him and blossom into a huge canopy. He looked around and could see the Screamin demon making a wide circle and losing altitude. When it was about 800 feet above the ground, she blew up. Tears came to his eyes as the plane exploded, because she had been the pride and joy of their crew since February and had seen them through some very trying experiences. With no time to mourn the situation, my father hit the ground. He landed about 1 kilometer from what we believe to be the village of Slobozia Mora, where his potential escape would be met in one direction by a pitchfork-carrying peasant, or in the other direction, an armed enemy soldier. He was captured and taken to a small-town jail, then Michael the Brave garrison, and ultimately to the schoolhouse at Lagerul 13, where he remained a POW under Romanian control in what he believed the better alternative to German authority. My father was fluent in German, which made for a smooth interrogation by the Aryan officer. Princess Karaja, who was instrumental in keeping the POWs in Romanian control, told my father he resembled King Michael, and my father often felt he received softer treatment in part due to that resemblance. My father's experience is not unlike that of the other POWs in Romania. John McCormick, pilot of the Born to Lose, flew his mission over the marshalling yards in Bucharest on April 4th, 1944, and experienced his own horrific bailout. His daughter Beth and husband Kevin are here. The late Louis Sleeper was a gunner on a mission, and his wife Jan and daughter Dana are here, as are Jill and Bill Gunn, who is the son of the late Colonel James Gunn, who piloted his mission on August 17th. You should know, as you heard, Colonel Gunn was instrumental in orchestrating the thrilling escape of some 1,200 POWs back to Italy, from the orchards right alongside Ploiesti Aerodrome back to Italy. We're all here to honor these men and reflect on their time here in Romania. My father shared that the Romanian people were well-meaning, but for the war, and he felt many were hardworking farmers, not unlike his family back home in Illinois. I'm compelled to validate his time here firsthand with seeing the experiences he might have been through. Getting back to my father's treasured souvenir. Somewhere in this country is a World War II Romanian ace pilot who has the silver wings of an American Navigator and I hope that he or his descendant proudly wears those wings, just as I am happy and delighted to wear his wings. On behalf of our group, we really appreciate the help from the Innocente team, especially Alina, Iona, and Belarus, who I don't think is here, for opening up the embassy. We really appreciate all of your efforts, and the historians, especially Dan Malenti, who's made this trip the most meaningful event for me, and I know for the other 9 of us, and I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.